Before we get started, let's look at the tools you'll need to install your new Ribcage Mod Kit. A set of precision screwdrivers with a Phillips number 0. If you have a GoPro Hero3, you'll need a Torx T4 screwdriver. If you have a Hero3 Plus, this is not required. A utility knife. An air puffer is recommended, as is a lens cloth or CCD cleaner. It's important to note that none of the operations you'll be performing require force. Patience and a gentle touch are all that is required. It's not recommended to switch back and forth between the GoPro configuration and the Ribcage Mod Kit, as doing so will create stress and wear on the components. Now let's run through the steps you need to perform to install the Ribcage Mod Kit. The first thing you need to do is remove the accessories, SD card, and the battery. To remove the front cover, use a miniature screwdriver or plastic spudger. Gently insert the tool under the upper left corner of the cover and begin working your way around the camera. The faceplate is attached using snap points and adhesive tape. Pull the faceplate off and set it aside. Now we'll remove the screws that attach the internal components to the housing. Remove the screws located in the four corners and set them aside. On the GoPro Hero3, you will require a Torx T4 screwdriver, but on the Hero3 Plus, a Phillips is used. To remove the interior parts, gently insert a small flat screwdriver between the components and the housing next to the HDMI port and lift the housing slightly over the ports. Grip the lens and work the PCB board assembly out of the housing by gently rocking the lens assembly back and forth until the internal aluminum plate and PC board assembly is out. On the GoPro Hero3 Plus, be mindful of the new ribbon that connects the PCB board to the housing. To release the ribbon, pull up on the black locking mechanism and gently pull it free. Remove the heat transfer tape that wraps around the bottom of the camera by using your nails or a small flat screwdriver to pull up on the edge, and gently pull the tape off from back to front. Remove the four screws holding the CMOS plate onto the rear of the assembly, and then set them aside. Gently pull to disconnect the connector joining the CMOS and PCB board. Use your fingernail or a flat screwdriver to gently pull up the plastic locking tab prior to removing the metal tape inserted into the board connector located on the side. Remove the screw that attaches the PCB board and the aluminum plate. It's located on the top of the assembly next to the battery contacts. Gently pull the PCB board away from the aluminum plate. Unscrew the 3 screws holding the lens assembly onto the aluminum plate. Pull the lens assembly away from the aluminum plate. Gently pull the adhesive backing from the plate. Now it's time to remove the LCD and button assembly from the aluminum plate. Push up on the LCD display from the back. Pull up on the metal tape that was released earlier, being careful to separate the connector tape as it forms around the aluminum plate, and gently pull the power button assembly free. It's held on with adhesive backing, so remember this isn't a race. Gently work the adhesive until the part comes free. Now you've successfully disassembled your GoPro camera. Now it's time to move on to the fun stuff, installing your new Ribcage Mod Kit. The Ribcage Mod Kit consists of a C-mount ring, CS mount ring, M12 ring, CCD connector, aluminum PCB plate, a plastic standoff, aluminum faceplate, IR cut filter, and tripod mount. So let's get started. We'll begin by placing a small piece of double-sided tape behind the CMOS sensor on the metal stiffener plate. Next, insert the LCD power button strip into the PCB plate. Now we're going to transfer the power button and LED light covers to the new faceplate. Take your screwdriver and pop out the LED covers. Turn the faceplate over and use an X-Acto knife to cut the tab connecting the power button as pictured. Place the parts into the Ribcage faceplate. Use a screwdriver to push in the LED covers. Work them in until seated correctly. Next, we'll insert the image sensor into the Ribcage PCB plate. Take care not to touch the CCD, but if you do, it can be cleaned later. Insert the connector ribbon through the plate and fit the board into place. Place the plastic standoff over the imaging sensor, aligning it to the holes underneath. Note that the thin side of the standoff should be on the left. Attach the faceplate to the PCB plate, taking care not to dislodge the plastic standoff or power button. Once together, connect them with 2 of the 1/8 screws provided. Note, when all the pieces are properly aligned, the assembly fits together easily. Never force any of the components. Instead, check that they are seated properly and try again. Place a piece of double-sided tape to the stiffener on the underside of the male connector. Connect the male end of the jumper to the female connector on the CMOS sensor. Fitting the jumper connectors together is a delicate and precise operation. When the connectors line up properly, a gentle pressure is all that is required for the connectors to snap together easily. Do not use force to fit the connector, as this can damage the tiny pins. Now we'll screw 4 1/4-inch screws into the PCB plate through the CMOS sensor and plastic standoff. Stop screwing once the screws are flush with the faceplate. Now's a good time to inspect your image sensor for smudges and dust. Use lens cleaner and a lens cloth to ensure your sensor is crystal clear. Next, we'll connect the M12 ring to the cover plate. Make sure the set screw hole is aligned to the top of the camera. If you wish to permanently install your IR cut filter, place it into the back of the M12 ring now before you connect it to the faceplate. Again, taking care not to add smudges or debris. You can add the IR cut to the kit later from the front if you want it to be removable. Take the M12 ring and place it on the faceplate, making sure to align it with the 4 screws. Continue driving the screws through the plates into the M12 ring until it fits snugly on the surface. It's best to screw one in all the way until snug, and then do the other screws in a diagonal pattern as if you were changing a tire. The screws should be snug only, do not over-tighten. Clean the inside of the ring with a cloth or use a puffer to get rid of any debris. Now it's time to connect the GoPro PCB board to our ribcage assembly. We'll start by removing the backing from the double-sided tape we attached earlier. Now fold over the ribbon and press the connector into position on the back of the plate. Take the GoPro PCB assembly and slide it into position so that the remaining ribbon connector fits through the original lens opening. Now screw the assembly into place using the original screw, taking care that the LCD panel connector on the left side of the camera remains free. Reinsert the LCD panel connector back into the connection socket. The best way is to push it in with your finger while guiding it with your screwdriver. Make sure it's fully inserted and then click down on the black locking mechanism to hold it in place. Now we'll connect the image sensor to the PCB board. Gently push the connector into the socket located on the GoPro board until it's properly seated. Now it's time for a quick test. Take the GoPro battery and slide it onto the contacts located on the back of the camera. Hold the battery in place and press the power button. If the camera powers on and you were able to switch modes, everything is good. If the camera doesn't power on or you can't change modes, double check your connections and try again. If you have a Hero3 Plus, reconnect the ribbon from the housing to the remaining small connector socket. Flip down the black locking mechanism to hold it in place. Next, we'll put everything back in the case. Take the ribcage assembly and angle it back into the GoPro housing, ensuring the HDMI and USB ports properly mate with their openings, and then push the assembly down into place. Release the two screws holding on the new faceplate. Separate the plate slightly and rotate it about 10 degrees to reveal the 4 screws located in the corners. Insert the original 4 corner fastening screws. Tighten them until snug. Click the faceplate back into place. Now fasten the faceplate with the 4 screws provided. If you plan to use the M12 lenses similar to the original GoPro lens, insert one of the tiny set screws into the top of the M12 ring using the Allen key provided. Screw the CS mount ring into place over the M12 ring. Insert the remaining tiny set screw into the CS ring and then tighten until snug using the provided Allen key. In order to attach C-mount lenses, attach the 5mm C-mount spacer ring. Reattach the battery and accessories. Attach the IR cut filter if you haven't done so already. If you want the camera to have night vision capability, leave the filter out. Attach the Ribcage tripod plate using the two 3/16 screws provided. Now we're all done. Go out and enjoy your new camera and have fun experimenting with different lenses.